Okay, welcome everybody to get to know SolarEdge webinar together with Solarity and SolarEdge. I'm happy to see that we have a participant from many parts of Europe, both from Croatia, Slovenia, and up from the Baltics. So we will start. The main presenter will be Petr Klimek from SolarEdge. He will give you a good introduction to what they can offer in the market. And me, I will introduce the Solarity and the Solarity presentation. And then we have two representation for language support also, Nicole and Thomas. So all the questions you can get answered in Croatian or in Lithuanian language. So the agenda is about 2 hours. You will get a short introduction from me, and then Peter will take over, and there will be questions and so on. We will take also a small break at 11 o'clock. Important is that this is a multi-language webinar, so you have a globe you can see here on the left side where you can choose between English and German. And German is actually not German, sorry for that. German is Croatian language, so you will have it translated into Croatian language if you go down and click on the globe. So if anyone have any issues with that, you can ask those questions in the chat and we will have somebody who helps you. But I hope that will work well. Let's move on to a short intro to Solarity. So my name is Thomas Wernersson. I'm the sales director for Solarity, and we established actually as you was doing. So we have been an EPC. We started the business 2009. Regulations here in Czech Republic was not so favorable at that time as they are now. So we moved our business from installation business into distribution business for now 10 years ago. And today, I would say we are recognized international distributor with main markets in Europe, but also Middle East and Africa. So we are today on a level of 150 megawatt a year. I think this year maybe 200. We are active in 30 countries, and we have about 10 nationalities in our company. And we have offices in several places. As you see, we have a quite good ability to communicate with our customers in local market and near to our customers.
Excuse me, I will just interrupt. Nicola is muted. So Nicola, can you unmute yourself so that people can hear you? Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
So, okay. So what we're doing, yeah, basically we are the link between the manufacturers and the installers. So we are communicating with manufacturers with trainings but we also of course take care of the logistics, so you can get your products on time and get the right products. And how we try to do this is we try to not be just a trader who's moving one product to another. We do have a quite big technical partner. We can do PV designs, we can help you with that. We have financial offers with third parties. We also have a possibility to sign up for partner programs, so you as a customer can get a bit better conditions working with us in a loyalty program that is out. We also have the ability to do local support on most markets, I would say. And we also host trainings, and trainings is an important part. So I think we are about 3,000 to 4,000 professionals every year that we actually do training for. Sometimes ourselves, sometimes like this together with our key partners. And then of course logistics is important for us, both to get the inbound goods to us, but also to get it out to you. And many times we do shipment directly on installation place to save time and cost for everyone. So yeah, headquarters in Prague. and this is the, let's say, the main market for us. So yeah, Baltic and let's say the Balkan market, including Slovenia, it's been long market for a long time for us, and it's nice. We have an established presence and established brand on the market here. In our warehouse, we are having around 5 megawatts, always on stock, different product groups, of course. In Europe, we are 40 employees, and just from Europe, and you can see that the main portion of our 20. And we choose a product, that's why we have SolarEdge here. We are looking at it from the installer perspective, once again coming from the installer. So we are looking at the product that it should be easy to sell for you. It should be a recognized brand. It should have a good reputation on the market, but it should also be easy for you to install, so that you can do you can make the installation in a good way, so your customer becomes happy. And also we are looking at we take it very, if you have followed us for a longer period of time, some of you might have been with us for 5-10 years, you will see that many of the brands we're having, they are there for quite a long time. So we are not so opportunistic. We want to have proven performance before we are taking it on. So main brands, I would say we have 3 different type of module manufacturers, and we are working with inverter brands as well. SolarEdge is number 1 on the portfolio, both when it comes to cooperation, but also when it comes to turnover and stock and so on. We have a good, we have a good and fruitful. So what we are selling, yeah, I will not go into everything. Basically, we can offer you everything for the residential market, everything from EV charger to batteries, and we also have the technical ability to help you here, because it's not so easy. It becomes more and more tricky with different storage solutions that is not compatible with other inverters and so on. But we have the opportunity here to, and the same is for products. Of course, we offer everything, but we also is having a relationship with suppliers, with financial institutions, so we can be able to help you also to manage your cash flow neutral projects. So that was all from SolarEdge. I won't bore you here. It's a training seminar, so I will hand over to Peter soon. I will just launch a small little poll. So if you can do me a favor and answer this, and I will share the result soon. So the question is, how familiar you are with SolarEdge? Have you installed one? Or if not, have you heard of it? So votes are coming in. So we see most of you have heard of it, and half of you. I will share the results after a while. We're 27. I'll wait a little bit longer to give everybody a chance to vote. Okay. So we have 50% have installed, and 50-50, and 75% have heard about optimizers. So thank you very much for me, and I will hand over to Peter.
Thank you very much, Thomas. I hope everybody can hear me, but I saw that Nicola raised her hand, so I'm just want to check if there is everything okay with the interpretation.
I'm so sorry, Peter, to interrupt, but are you in English or are you in off mode?
Now I just done. Okay, so Peter is in English mode. I hope everybody can hear me now.
Yes.
Perfect. Great. So welcome. Hello to everybody once again. I hope I can launch my presentation and that you can see in a proper mode. I will try to speak slowly as we have the interpretation, but I prepared a lot of slides for today, even though it's a basic webinar. So it is possible I will skip some slides or I will not manage all the topics, which you can see here in the structure. Because it's really a lot of to do, but I will advise you also where to get other sources of training, webinars, or even a special event we are launching now, which is called SolarEdge SolarEdge Games. My name is Petr Klimek. I'm working in the PV field about 16 years. But for the last 8-9 years, I'm working with the company called SolarEdge. So with the company about the company we will talk today. At that time when I joined this company, it was a startup. And within this 8, 9, 10 years, it became #1 inverter producer in the world. And today's webinar is about to tell you what is the reason of this success, what we have changed or what the company has changed in the PV production that it's so successful. If you would have any questions, please use a chat. I will try to use a break or maybe even during the webinar to answer the questions. Or you can always, if it's related to storage technology or some other questions, you can also write me an email, which you can see on this first slide. So as we have a lot to do, let's start. But before we go to the technology, as I mentioned, I would like to invite you to a special event, which we have already launched in many countries. It is called SolarEdge Games. It's a bunch of webinars and contests. And as we cannot do it for each country because of the language barrier and, of course, labor resources, for, let's say, I would call it the Mid-East Europe or North Europe, we will join the UK. So UK SolarEdge Games, where you can join. It starts at the 1st of March. So you can go to our website or already register. As I mentioned, it's a bunch of webinars or special contents where you can improve your knowledge, but also to win very nice prizes or awards. There are some weekly awards, but there are also some main awards. The #1, for instance, is that you can win a trip for 2 to Israel to visit our new automated manufacturing facility near to Nazareth. So one of the participants from this region may go to Israel. Then the second place is also a trip to Hungary, where we have another production site where we produce our optimizers, power optimizers on automated lines, and we are also going to produce there our own SolarEdge battery. So this is an invitation for this special event. But if you want to get some better knowledge about SolarEdge technology, there are other options how to do it. If you go to our website, solaredge.com, and you click on the login, you can click on the Edge Academy, or you can click on the education as shown on the slide. If you click on the education, you will get to a page where you can see a lot of countries. And if you go and click on UK and Ireland, you can see a lot of live webinars or recordings. So this is ongoing education with Jason or Alberto explaining SolarEdge technology, different topics. You can ask them questions, so it's very interactive. Today's webinar is very basic about the advantages and the basics, but here you can get further knowledge. If you would like to get some certificate from us, then I would recommend you, because we cannot do at the moment, provide a face-to-face training. Please visit our Edge Online Academy. So if you click on login and go to Edge Academy, if you have our SolarEdge account, it will let you through. If not, then you can just create a simple SolarEdge account and you can use the academy. There are some courses, movies, but the main or the most important for you would be the fundamental and advanced. So each of them is awarded with the certificate. So if you want to have a certification, please go and do this online courses. This advanced course is also important when you would like to get a service fee. So if you visit this this training, you get a certificate, and once there is a service issue on site, for instance, you're going to change an inverter or optimizer, you can even ask for a service fee. SolarEdge, I didn't want to talk a lot and a long time about the company. I already mentioned it was a startup a few years ago, but now it's the #1 solar inverter company. It is, let's say, a company who introduced power optimizers to the world. So far, we shipped more than 60 million of power optimizers worldwide. And because we are a very innovative company, we have more than 356 awarded patents and many additional patent applications waiting. We are present all over the world with many thousands of installers and with many facilities and R&D centers. Day before, we launched our financial results for Q4, and if you look at the results, you can see that we are very strong. I mean, financial, very strong company. As I mentioned, we are present worldwide. I'm not sure if it makes sense to show you all the sites. R&D centers we have in Israel, Bulgaria, California, US, South Korea, Italy, and we are producing our optimizers and inverters in China, Vietnam, Hungary, Korea, and Israel as well. Headquarters of the company is in Israel. It was founded in 2006. Here you can see at least some, revenue growth during the years. So if you never heard about SolarEdge, then be sure it's one of the best companies, the best performing companies during the last years, really with very great financial results every quarter. Of course, the COVID situation decreases a little bit the turnover, but still the company is reaching amazing results. If you look at the ranking, you can see the nice and constant progress. So as I mentioned, 2012, when I joined the company, it was a startup, but during the years, because of the innovative technology and the different way how to manage the DC power, DC PV power, SolarEdge became finally a #1 inverter supplier in the world in terms of revenue. SolarEdge is, of course, producing inverters and optimizers, but it's not the only one field the company is being focuses, because it's very strong company financially. SolarEdge, acquired several more companies during the last 2-3 years. So we have a different divisions, and we are focusing on different fields in energy sector. First division is the UPS division. We acquired the company Gammatronic. We have also acquired one company in Italy, which is focused on e-mobility and powertrain technologies and electronics for EVs. But the most important division for us in let's say PV branch or PV sector is the battery division. We acquired the South Korean company called Kokam. I'm not sure you've heard about this company before, but I would recommend you to check the webpage. So if you go to kokam.com, you will see more. It's very famous and company providing its solutions to very specific areas. For instance, for Navy, for military purposes. So if you see some, I don't know, F-16s or submarines or even torpedoes, there you can see that there are batteries from Kokam. Or if you ever heard about the plane, the Solar Impulse plane, then you should know that there were batteries from Kokam as well. So the name is maybe not so known, but because this company never sold the batteries under its own name, but it's very present in small applications, Navy, space, aerospace, up to big ESS solutions. As I mentioned, the company is not focusing only on the inverters and power optimizers, but we are producing also, not producing, but offering now the smart modules. We have PV inverters with the integrated EV chargers. We have some devices for home energy management, where we call them products as a smart energy. We will soon offer our own battery. As I mentioned, this will be produced in Korea and assembled also in Hungary. We will come with this battery very soon in the US and in the middle of the year in Europe as well. There will be a residential battery for single phase and three phase inverters in the middle of the year. And I believe there will be a commercial battery by the end of the year. It will be, of course, based on Kokam experiences and very safe battery with some unique patented solution again. So once we launch it, I will give you some more details. We are not focusing only on the hardware, of course, but we have also we are also famous because of very good software, especially because of the quite unique monitoring platform. But we are also dealing with the grid services. It's not the topic for today, but if somebody is interested, I can send some more materials. And now let's go back to reasons why SolarEdge became so successful within the last year. The simple explanation would be that the traditional system, the traditional old-fashioned inverters, they have a lot of limitations. So what are these limitations? First of all, when using a standard traditional inverter, you are losing energy. You or the investor is losing energy. And there are quite big losses. If you calculate with the PV as a long-term investment, it's really a huge amount of money. And I will show you some examples later on a commercial sites, or let's say I would explain this energy loss on commercial rooftop PV examples. Second thing, I believe most of you are working with PV for some maybe years, months, maybe I don't know what's your experience with PV, but as I'm in the field already more than 15 years, and I saw many sites, many big sites, many small sites, and I have some experience in the long term. I know that after several years, the most important thing about PV is a service and maintenance. And if you don't have a proper tools how to do it, then you pay a lot of money for labor, for equipment, for instance, the testing of the modules and things like that. So if you don't have a good monitoring, and usually the traditional inverters, they have only string monitoring, then it's the really big disadvantage. And I will show you why in a few slides later. Design flexibility, we will talk about it. If you use a standard string inverter, very often you are limited with the design. You cannot put modules in the shaded areas. You have to put modules in the same strings, in the same orientations, things like that. As I said, we will come back to that. And the last, but not at least not last, is the safety topic. Maybe not so discussed in our countries yet, but I will tell you that in the Western Europe and North Europe, it's now really hot topic. There are many insurance companies now involved in the business because there are millions of new sites yearly in Europe or all over the world. And even though PV is very safe and there are not so many, for instance, fires caused by PV itself, but still there are cases. Recent years, there were many fires on the big sites, and therefore the safety becomes very interesting topic for everybody. And I will show you some advantages of SolarEdge solution. So how SolarEdge overcomes the standard issues or the issues of the standard inverters. So if you look at the picture, then you can see a standard inverter here. So it's one box which has a DC and AC conversion part in the inverter. And it has also the other functions like MPP trackers inside the box. So such kind of inverter is trying to find the maximum power point for all the modules here in the string connected in series. But this way of working is really inefficient because if you're looking for one point for all the modules, and you know the modules are different from different reasons, and we will talk about it, then you can guess that the result won't be the best. So what SolarEdge did is that we have divided the standard inverter into two parts. So it's still one inverter, but we have divided the functions, and some of the functions we brought closer to the modules. So we have a power optimizer, which is a small box which is connected usually to the module or to the racking system. We will talk about it, what is it and how it works later on. And we have a simplified inverter which is doing only the DC-AC conversion. We are also using the advantage of fixed string voltage. So the DC-AC conversion is always done in the best conditions and best conversion rate. Here, it comes to one question I got from some markets from time to time, people asking if the inverter can work without the power optimizers. So the answer is no. SolarEdge inverter cannot work without the power optimizers because it's still one inverter. Just the functions of the inverter are divided into two parts. So as I mentioned, we divided the functions, and let's talk about the components of the system. So the first component is called power optimizer. What is it, a power optimizer? It's actually DC-DC converter, and I will show you some slides how it works in reality with this DC-DC conversion, why it's needed and why it's good, why it's not good. It also provides the feedback on module performance. So because of power optimizers, you can have a module level monitoring. Such power optimizer is also responsible for the first safety function we have, which is called safe DC. So power optimizers reduces the output voltage to 1 volt. We will talk about the safety function later on as well. And what is also very important to know that power optimizer as a part of the inverter is already with the warranty for 25 years. Then you can see we have 2 pictures of inverters. On the left side, you can see the 3-phase inverter. On the right side, you can see the single-phase inverter. We will talk today only about the 3-phase, the standard topology inverter, I would say, because the HD wave technology we use in the single-phase is a bit unique. It's very innovative. We got several awards for it, but it's not implemented in the 3-phase inverters yet. If you are interested in HD wave technology, I can send you some slides, or you can find on the Google. It's something very unique. It's the most efficient inverter in the world using different components with very long warranty and cheap warranty for 20 years. Quite unique product, which differs completely from the other products in the market. But today we will not talk about single-phase inverters. So if we talk about 3-phase, as I mentioned, it's very simplified inverter. It's only doing the DC-AC conversion. That's why we can allow, or we can allow to have a 12-year warranty, what is very important, and we can cheaply extend it to 20, and in some cases of the smaller 3-phase inverters, even to 25 years. It's very simple designed. It manages the grid interaction, and it has the communication environment inside the box. Single phase, as I said, I will skip. We will maybe talk next time. Monitoring platform. We will talk about it later on, once we will talk about operation and maintenance cost. It's very important part of our system because it gives you a lot of data. It has integrated analyst tools which can help you to manage the maintenance and operation of the plant. First poll coming, so I will try to start the polls for you. The question is, if you think that the software which is offered by the traditional inverters can help, with the shadow management or with the situation when there is a shadow. Because we always hear, you don't need optimizers. These optimizers are useless. So I'm really curious about your opinion. If the software, the traditional inverter producers are using, is good enough. Okay, so the votes are coming. I will wait a few more seconds, because I'm really curious about the result. So we have 21 people voted. Okay, 22. Okay, I will stop the vote in 5 seconds. Okay, so thank you for your votes. Now I hope you can see the results. So 8 people think that the software in the standard inverters can be sufficient enough, and 68% thinks that it's not true, it's false. So thank you for your votes once again, and now we'll have a quick look how it works in practice, because I have the experience that even the installers working 10 years in the branch, they have no clue how the let's call it the smart software in traditional inverters works. So let's have a quick overview how it works. I will start with, a bit more technical things in the beginning, because from my experience, I have a lot of questions coming during the webinars, that how it works and what's the difference, and it's more technically based. So I will start with that, and then we go to let's say sales advantages and why it's better. So first, let's check, the situation which everybody knows, shading. If you look at the picture, you can see a very simple example of a single phase inverter, where you have several modules with 280 watt. It's actually 14 modules with 280 watt. So you have some DC power here. On the top, you can see a traditional inverter single phase system with some kind of efficiency of 96.5%. So if you take into consideration the efficiency, you will probably get this power when the conditions are really optimal. The modules are giving you the full power, which never happens, but let's say it's a theoretical example. Here below, you have a SolarEdge single phase system, and you can see again 14 modules with 280 watt. So the installed DC power is the same, but the efficiency itself is already better. As I said, in the single phase system, we have the best efficiency in the world at the moment. So even when there is no shading and no differences between the modules, which I will show you later on, we are producing more energy just because of the efficiency. But what happens if you look at the modules you buy? You always get the modules on a pallet, and you think maybe that if there is written on the label there is a 280 watt, that all modules are the same. It's definitely not true. You always have something like plus minus 5 watts or plus minus 5% or something, because it's theoretically not possible to produce completely the same modules, even though you are sorting the cells or whatever. So if we take the simple fact that there is a plus tolerance of 5 watt, and you can take this example, you have modules from 280 watt to, let's say, 284 watt. Again, in this case, even here you have 23 watt more energy. We have no shading. We are just calculating the efficiency of the system. The efficiency of the system here is only based on inverter. Here, the system efficiency is based on optimizer efficiency and the inverter efficiency. So to avoid such kind of questions, you need to calculate the efficiency of the inverter and of the optimizer. What happens if there is a shading typical scenario? If you have a standard traditional system, then you can see that the inverter has two options what to do. Now we will describe the first option. That means if you have some shaded modules, that the inverter must have the same voltage, and it will reduce the current to the same level. Yeah, so if you have a shaded module and the shaded modules have a 4 amps or the weakest link has a 4 amps current, it must be reduced for the whole string. So actually, if you reduce the current in the whole string, you produce with 4 modules of 140 watt this DC power. If you calculate the efficiency, you will get this number. Let's call it here as a local maximum power point. In SolarEdge, it's a bit different because you have to understand we have not connected the modules like here in the series, but we have connected the optimizers in the series. For you, the basic fact is that each module is working independently. So here in this system, the weakest link, the weakest module, is influencing the production of all the others in the string. In this case, not, because each and every module works independently. How it works, I will show you on the next slides in the concept of operation. But here, just imagine that every and each module produces independently. What does it mean in reality? If you have 8 modules producing 280 watt and 6 modules about 140 watt, then you have about 3.1 kilowatt DC power. If you calculate the efficiency, you are producing something about 3 kilowatt. So that's the difference between the standard, I would call it stupid traditional system without any software managing the shadows. Simplified, the inverter or the current in the string must be low as the weakest module has. Before I go to a comparison between SolarEdge and inverter with so-called smart software for shading, then let's have a look. How does it look like in reality when you have shadowing situation? I'm not sure I can launch it now with this pointer, so I will try to turn it off. And if you look on the picture on the left, you can see different colors. So this color, this blue color, is a full solar irradiation. The yellow one is where there is the limited energy production. So once you have a shadow from this simple pole, you will see how the shadow coming across the field is influencing the production in traditional system. So if you look at here, the shadow is coming, and this is the problem, that the modules are not working independently of each other, but one module, one weakest link, shadowed, for instance, is influencing the production of all the others. If you look at the SolarEdge system, of course, you will lose some power because even the shaded modules are producing less. But you know, the shaded modules are not affecting the production of all the others. So if you look at another slides, at some point, you can see the clear result how it works in real life. Now, before I do the comparison, do you think that there are PV installations without shading? It's not a poll, so you don't have to vote, but please be aware there is not a single installation in the world without the shading. Even the moving clouds are creating a shade. Then if you look on the pictures, you can have some angry birds, for instance, sitting or doing the bird droppings on the modules, for instance. You never know what comes in the future, if there will be a building near to your installation or tree or antenna or whatever. So you should be prepared that even in the future, there could be some things you cannot expect even now. But let's go back to our example with the comparison. So now on the top, you have the system with the, let's call it smart software for shadow management, and below again SolarEdge. So you have the system with the modules, and what happens in the traditional system with the software if there is a problem with the shading. So what the system does actually. The system finds out that this local maximum power point was the previous case when the current was reduced in the whole string. So this is the, let's say, the local maximum power point. But the system is smarter and knows that there is another point which is called global maximum power point, which is better for production. But how to get to this point? The system will not reduce the current in the shaded modules, but it will activate the bypass diodes in the modules and will turn off either one part, two part, third part, or the whole module out of the operation. What does it mean? It keeps the full voltage and full current in the good modules, and you can get a bit better result of the production. So you can see it is not 1.9 kilowatt, but you can produce 2.1 kilowatt of energy in such case. So you are probably in the global maximum point for the traditional inverter. But the problem which will come even with this smart software in the brackets is that if you turn off and turn on the bypass modules, bypass diodes in the modules very often, what will happen? If you look at the solar parks, which are 5, 6, 7 years old, you will see that the typical problem of the module is a broken bypass diode. And if you turn them off and on very often, you will probably have some failures sooner on the modules than usual. So this is how the standard traditional inverter works, even with the smart software, and it works only if you have one string per one MPP tracker. If you have one MPP tracker and you have 2 strings, the software cannot be even used because you need to have the same voltage in both strings. So this is how it works in the standard system, and here it is how it works in a SolarEdge system. As I said, these modules are working independently. So if you have lower irradiation on this module, you have a lower current, of course, but you are still producing a lot of power. You are not turning off the part of the modules or the whole modules. And if you look at the result, you produce much more energy than a standard system. So that's an answer for you when you will be blamed by some inverter producers that you don't need optimizers, because ask them how it actually works. They should tell you answer to this question. Now we will quickly go to concept of operation. We will do a quick overview, and then we will have a 5 to 10 minutes break. Before I start with the concept, you should be aware that we are really, we have really good experience with optimizers and proven experience with optimizers. As I mentioned, we have delivered more than 60 million of optimizers to the world. But now you see a lot of Chinese cheap copies coming to the market. And you should be aware of the fact that when 2 are doing the same thing, they are not doing the same thing. You can imagine that the new optimizers from the Chinese, especially from Chinese producers, are not really proven products. They have no experience with optimizing, and you should think twice before you decide for your installation, because as my 15 years experience, I know that every new product has some issues. And this is especially valid for optimizers. So if you have a new generation of optimizers from a producer who is trying to, of course, copy everything from us, at least this is what I saw, it's not the same optimizer. First of all, the topology is a bit different. We will maybe talk about how it works, and that some optimizers and buck and boost, some optimizers are just step-down optimizers. So please be aware and be careful when deciding for the technology, because what can happen in 2-3 years when you put some Chinese optimizers on the roof? Probably you may go on site to do some changes or repairs, but I'm not aware of any Chinese service concept in Europe. I don't think the Chinese will pay you some money for the exchange and things like that. So use your own head, think twice about the optimizers and about the experience. Let's check the basic topology of the system. So, as I mentioned to you, you should understand that in a SolarEdge system, there are not modules connected in the series, but the power optimizers. So there is something else coming in to the optimizers from the module, some current and some voltage, and something else is coming out of the optimizer. We have different types of optimizers, and as I mentioned, these are DC-DC converters, so they can increase or decrease the voltage, This is called buck boost technology. The other optimizers, typically they have only the buck function, so they can only decrease the voltage. So they are not so efficient in many real life situations. Here on the example was a single phase system where you saw that one optimizer takes care only about one module, but we have even systems where one optimizer is doing the optimization for two modules, which are typically connected in series. Only in some cases we have such optimizers when the modules are connected in parallel to the optimizer. The basic concept is the same. There is some voltage and current coming to the optimizer and something else is going out, because as I mentioned, we are working with the fixed voltage in the string. So for single phase, it's about 380 volts. And for three phase inverters, it's about 750 volts. What does it mean? There is an instant communication between the inverter and optimizers, and the inverter always gets the voltage, the right voltage. We will come back to that. But how it works in life, so when there is a night or no DC, then the voltage is below 6 volts, so then the inverter is in a night mode, so in a standby. Once the voltage in a single phase inverter is bigger than 6 volts and in a three phase bigger than 9 volts, then the inverter wakes up from the night mode and start sending a wake up signal over the power lines, over the PV cables to the optimizers. And this wake up signal is transmitted constantly between the optimizers and the inverter. Once the signal is lost, several things will happen. And it's also the base for our safety function, which I explained later. But once the wake up signal from the inverter is received, the optimizer switch from so-called safety mode. Safety modes, it produces only 1 volt. Sorry, it goes up very quickly. It has only 1 volt. It wakes up and start to increase the voltage. As I said, it's a DC-DC converter, so it increases the voltage. Once the voltage is increased enough, in this case, you have 10 optimizers. Every optimizer increases the voltage up to 38 volts. The inverter gets 380 volts. Then the inverter starts to check, the grid parameters, and once the parameters are okay, starts the production. Every optimizer sends in average some telemetries. So this is a second signal which goes over the power line. So every optimizer sends some data in average every 5 minutes. And now let's go to see one real example that you understand it fully. So imagine a site where you have 20 optimizers. In this case, it's a commercial system because you can see that one optimizer is taking care about the 2 modules. Before the optimizer or the inverter starts to work, the optimizers are in so-called safety mode, so they are producing just 1 volt. Yeah, so if you are installing our PV, you can be sure you will not be harmed by high voltage, because before you activate the optimizers, they are producing only 1 volt. So if you measure the voltage with a voltmeter and you have 20 optimizers, you should measure 20 volts. So this is so-called safety mode, 1 volt per optimizer. If you have a perfect system, so you have 20 optimizers, and each I think there is a mistake. Sorry for this shadow here. This will come a bit later. But imagine an ideal system when you have 20 optimizers, and here you have 2 modules of 250 watt, so altogether 500 watt. Then if it really produces full power, then you have 20 times 500 watt. That means you have 10,000 watt. If we know that the voltage should be fixed, 750 volt, and if you divide 10,000 watts, so the full production divided by the voltage, you can see what will be the current in the string. Yeah, so it will be 13.3 amp. If you divide the power of the modules by the current, you will know what must be the voltage of each optimizer that you get 750 volt. So it must be 37.6 volt. So shortly said, you have some power, some voltage and current going into the optimizer, but then the optimizer decreases or increases the voltage, and at the same time the current is increased or decreased, so that the inverter has the voltage of 750 volts. So it's just playing with the current and the voltage. So you have something else coming in and something else coming out of the optimizer. As I mentioned, the inverter is constantly communicating in milliseconds with the optimizers, telling them, hey, I need 750 volts, so increase or decrease the voltage, and the current will be adapted to that. If there is a shadow or something happens to the modules, what would happen in the standard system? Probably the bypass diodes would be activated. Either one part or two-thirds of the modules, because typically a module has 3 bypass diodes. So depends how the shade is big and intensive, but the bypass diodes would be probably activated. Sorry. And the module or its part will be out of the operation in a standard system. In a SolarEdge system, as I showed you, the module is still producing. We have less irradiation, we have less current, yeah, but there is still nice production out of the shaded modules. It's not influencing the others, yeah, because we have the optimizers connected into the series. So here comes some voltage, here comes some current, and you can see how the voltage must be adapted together with the others fully performing, that the inverter has again 750 volts. If you have a power of 9,750 watt, you divide it by the voltage, you get even the current in the string. If you have 500 watt full operating modules, you divide it by 13 amps, you see what must be the voltage coming out of the optimizer to have 750 volts by the inverter. So this is the concept of operation. If there is a problem that the module is somehow completely dead, completely shaded or damaged, or cabling is damaged, it doesn't mean that the system will stop working. The optimizer is just bypassed, and the other modules are, of course, producing. But be careful, if there would be many of such modules damaged, then the inverter might not have enough voltage for the operation. So we will talk now about the design rules, just the basics design rules. And they are basically 2: the minimum modules or optimizers to have enough voltage for operation, and the maximum number of optimizers and modules not to exceed the maximum power per string. So there are 2 basic rules of design, which we will maybe cover after a small break. So we have 11 or 12 o'clock, depends on the area where you are. So let's have 5-minute break, and then we can continue. If there are any questions, I will check chat and Q&A, but I don't see any questions now. But you can put the questions there, and I will try to answer them later on. And meanwhile, maybe I can give you a poll. So within this 5 minutes, you can even vote if if you ever heard about SolarEdge Designer. Okay, so welcome back. We have a lot of things to do, and I'm not really sure we can manage the presentation or the training on time. So I will probably not finish all the topics, but I will, of course, provide you the whole presentations, and I'm anytime available for you for your questions or Zooms. We can do anytime to discuss any topic you want. I will end polling now and share the results. So the question was if you have ever heard of SolarEdge Designer, and you can see that some of you, 45% maybe using it already, and 55% never heard about SolarEdge Designer. And so let me introduce it. What is it? As I mentioned to you already, we have only 2 basic design rules. You can learn these design rules by your own, or you can use our program, which is totally for free. It's online. All you need to do is just to go on SolarEdge.com, click on login and click on designer. If you don't have an account, just create an account and then you can use this program, which is on the level of the best PV programs in terms of results. We have independent body comparison, so it's a program for free, which gives you a perfect results. And in addition, it provides many other functions. We don't have time today, maybe to do a simple installation in this program, but I would recommend you definitely to visit our webinars, or if you send me an email, I can send you recordings from the webinar, which is dedicated to this program. I think once you try it, you will love it, because it gives you a 2D, 3D model, or just the basic model, basic project design without modeling. It will show you, the irradiation, the results. You can add the battery. It will calculate the self-consumption for your production. All the things which are very nice, you can get for free with us. In addition, now we will add the financial analysis in the program, so you can even do the ROI calculation in this program. This will come in a few weeks. So please, if you want to work with us or with our technology, please try this. It will save you a lot of work. You will see the report of this program. It's very nice. And if you show a customer report from this program, you will see they'll be very happy. So if you don't have an experience with this, go to our webpage, join. There is even a tutorial how to work with this program inside the program, or you can find a lot of movies on YouTube how to use this. It's very simple, very easy program how to design, and the results are amazing, and it's for free. But if we shall talk about the design rules, I don't want to go into the details, because then we need to spend 1 hour about it. But I want you to understand that we are a bit different to traditional inverters, and you don't have to calculate, for instance, the input voltage, the maximum input voltage, because as I mentioned, we are working with the fixed string voltage. In a commercial system, it's 750 volts. That means we can do even a very long strings. We can have even 40 modules in one string, unless we do not reach the maximum power per string, which is shown here. So if you look at our solution, we will require minimum string length. And here we have optimizers. This is single phase or residential optimizers when we talk one-to-one solution. So one optimizer takes care about one module. We will on the next slide see the design rules for commercial optimizers. But here, as you can see, the minimum we are asking for each string is 8 optimizer for this optimizer types, or 6 optimizer for this optimizer types. Why it's here 8 and why it's here 6 only? The reason is simple. These optimizers can increase the voltage. As I said, it's DC-DC converter. this optimizer can increase the voltage up to 60 volts and this up to 85 volts. So it's logic that you need less optimizers here to get the fixed string voltage when you're using these optimizers compared to these optimizers. And why exactly 6 and 8? If you calculate 8 times 60, it's more than 380. What I've showed you before, that is the fixed voltage for single phase inverters. But we always calculate that 1 or 2 modules can be shaded. That's why there is a reserve in the number of optimizers for the minimum of optimizers or modules in the string. And the maximum is limited by 25 optimizers in case of single phase inverter or 50 in a three phase. And the maximum is also limited by the power. So it's typically 11.25 kilowatt per string. In some cases, if you read the notices here, it can be even 13.5 kilowatt or even more. Depends on the optimizer, etc. But the basic is here. And I would always recommend you to use the designer because this will solve all your problems. You don't have to think about it. These rules are under STC conditions. So let's call it this way, that we are calculating that the modules are really performing the full power as on the label. The 280 watt module gives already, of course, 280 watt, which in reality is not true. So if you use the designer, it calculates the maximum DC achieved power on the site. So you do the modeling of the house, and the program knows that the modules are not in optimal orientations, are not in an optimal angle, are maybe in different orientations, and therefore the rules for the designer can be a bit different compared to this standard rules, because the program is clever enough to calculate what the modules can do in a specific scenario. So please use always the designer, or you can ask us for help. But these rules here, which you can find always on the optimizer datasheet, are valid. But sometimes maybe you can do a longer strings, or you can do bigger oversizing of the inverter, because the program is clever and knows how to calculate in real life scenario. Here is the minimum and maximum of optimizers or modules for commercial systems. So the rooftop commercial systems on the buildings. If you look on the minimum string length, and here you can see the commercial optimizers. So we start with P650. It's not produced anymore, but the datasheet was not updated. Up to optimizer, which is called P1100. This is for high power modules. You can see that the minimum of optimizers you have to use in the system is 14. If you know that one optimizer is taking care about 2 modules, you would suggest that the minimum number of modules would be 28. No, if one optimizer always can be connected to only one module. So the minimum is 14 optimizers, but the minimum for the string is 27 modules. To make it clear. The maximum is 30 optimizers or 60 modules, and the maximum power is either 11.25 kilowatt or 13.5 kilowatt. In some cases, it's always written here in the notices below when it can be applied. But if you use the designer program, again, no worries. The program will allow you to see or to do it better. Let's move to the advantages. I see that in the participants there are a lot of people coming from Lithuania, and you may know that we are very successful in Lithuania in terms of commercial rooftop projects. And the reason is simple. You saw the differences between the traditional inverters and in case of shading. But please be aware, and you can hear it very often from the competitors. I know the sentence, you have a perfect site without shading, you do not need optimizers. Again, do not be blamed. I will explain you very, very shortly why the optimizer is needed, even you cannot see a shadow on the first look. Yeah, but let's start to think about the PV as an investment. You have a commercial rooftop PV, and I will explain you the advantages on this kind of sites, but it is valid even for residential sites. We have a special presentation for Resi. I can send it to you. It's explaining the same advantages from a different angle, but basically the ideas are the same. So I will do it on the commercial rooftop at the moment. So if you look at the commercial rooftop installation and you check the costs of such a PV plant, you will see that 50 or 60% is about PV modules. I will stop now. I have a question from Martins about the presentations. Of course, SolarEdge will share all the materials on the presentations to you later on, and I can give you even some more materials if you are interested. So just please contact me or contact SolarEdge. We will manage. So back to this, 50 or 60% of the cost of the commercial rooftop is about modules. Then you have some labor work, some cabling, some combiner boxes, BOS components, and the inverter is just about 10 to 15% of the total cost. But everybody speaks about modules, how modules are important. But you can have modules from gold, made of gold, but this will not help you if you don't have a really good inverter who takes care about the production, because this is the heart of the system. This is the brain which takes care 100% of system production. And it also affects the other parts of the system and its cost. I will show you very lately or very soon why. And the third thing, what you should think about is that the PV is investment at least for 20 years. If you have a factory, if you have a customer who is putting modules on the roof, it's not a car you will change in 3-5 years. The modules will survive about 35-40 years without issues. We have such modules on site still producing, not 100% of course, but 70-80% without a problem. But you will probably change some part of the system. Modules will survive, but you will definitely change the inverter. If you take into consideration the lifetime of 35-40 years, you will change the inverter at least 3 times. If you consider the calculation for 20 years, it will be minimum 1 time, minimum. But for the latest experience, what I see from the field, after 6-7 years, some inverters are already down. So we did a lot of solar parks in my country, in Czech Republic, in 2010, 2011. And I can see after 6, 7, 8 years, some investors already changed 30-40% of the inverters on the site. So be sure some components will be definitely changed, and you have to calculate this in a cash flow, because PV is a long-term investment, at least for 20 years. And you have to also consider that you will have some maintenance and operation cost. Yeah, so if I shall get back to the Czech Republic, the best business for many companies is to provide a service. There are a few companies having in portfolio many megawatts of these solar parks, and it's very costly for the owners to pay for the service. I will explain you why later on. So inverter selection is very important. And if I shall very shortly introduce the solution we have for commercial, then please be aware we have optimizers. As I mentioned, the commercial optimizers, you have one optimizer for 2 modules, or even in a specific case for 4 modules, but this is not the topic of today's presentation. We have the types with the names P605 up to P1100. We have commercial inverters starting from 15, I would say 16 kilowatt, because we removed 15 kilowatt from production. So let's say from 16 kilowatt to 82.8 kilowatt. And soon we will have a 100 kilowatt version for our 400 volt grid. So in the middle of the year, if we have a time, I have some slides to show you some news. But maybe we will not manage, so you can go through the presentation, but you will see this new inverter coming in the middle of the year, and there will be 100 kilowatt version. If I shall talk about other things, it will take us a lot of time, but we have sensors, we have commercial gateways, we have monitoring platform, we have professional services and things like that. So let's keep it maybe for other webinar or other opportunities. It would take really a long time. So let's move forward and maybe repeat what advantages you should focus when you're talking with the customer. With SolarEdge, what you can offer. First of all, everybody is interested in the production. So we're definitely producing more energy than any other inverter in the world at the moment. We have studies from independent bodies which are public. So you can see the studies from national laboratories in US. We have studies from photon magazines. We have studies from MCS. There are different studies which compared, the traditional inverters, micro inverters, and DC optimizers. And I am not aware of any study, official and independent study, showing that we are not producing more than any other inverter in the world at the moment. You will definitely have lower operation and maintenance cost in the future, because you have a module level monitoring, and I will explain you why it's important in the next slides. Safety, as I said, topic which is being discussed all around Europe, all around the world. I'm not sure you know about it so much, but I will give you some information, what's going on. And flexible design. So these are the 4 basic benefits of SolarEdge. Let's start with the first one. So how to make that your investor is happy and is producing more energy and having better yield. Back to the roots, if you imagine a standard inverter, again, the weakest module, the weakest link. Here you can see a module which has its own IV curve, and here is the maximum power point of this module. If you have a standard traditional system, the weakest link, the weakest module is influencing the production of all the others, and we call it, or we talk about so-called module mismatch. So if the modules are different, they have different IV curves, we call it module mismatch, and you are losing a power. We talked about the shadow, and shadow is one of the resources for mismatch, but don't be fooled. There are other, and we will talk about it now. Here on this slide, you can see the comparison between the SolarEdge system and traditional system on a picture. So again, if you have a traditional inverter, the weakest link is if you have this kind of solution, then the weakest link is, of course, influencing the production of the others. With SolarEdge, the modules are working separately again, so you can see how does it look like in real life. If you use some international programs like the Swiss programs, typically people are using PVSys, PVSol, and the others, you will see that they are calculating always with 2% as a base for the production, better for SolarEdge system. This is very, very, very conservative number. According to latest news and latest results from independent bodies, the mismatch between the module is much higher than the calculation here. We know it from practical life. And we will probably come to these software providers to correct this, because this is very, very conservative numbers. But even though if we calculate with these conservative numbers, you will see that 2% more energy in 20 years is a huge amount of money, really huge amount of money. And this 2% is only for the first year. You should be aware that the mismatch is growing during the years. The differences between the modules are growing as well, and the loss is much higher than this 2%. I will get back to this point in a few minutes. So I have another poll. We talked about shading, and many times you can hear that some competitors say that optimizers are useless and it's only good for shaded modules. So I want to know your opinion about this. Okay, so votes are coming. So last 5 seconds, and I will end the polling. So I'm sharing the results now. I know that in the participants, there are my colleagues from Fronius, so thank you for voting for true. I know that this kind of statements are coming especially from companies like that, so thank you. But it's a good discussion about this, so let's have a look why we think this is not definitely a true. Shading is only one source of mismatch. And I will show you in the next slides. So we talked about shading and how it works in a shading situation, but please be aware there are other sources of mismatch. So other sources which makes the panels weaker, which creating the differences between the modules. So first is transportation damage. Vibrations on the boat or on track, or even when you're handling with the modules not correctly, this can create some micro cracks inside. It's not visible damage, but if you do flash testing in a factory and then you do flash testing on the field, you will see there are quite nice differences between what you measure in the factory and what you measure in the field. If you put modules in different orientation, that's something you cannot do with a standard system. Yeah? So this is definitely something that creates mismatch. Then you have a thermal mismatch. You can ask module producers, what does it mean? If you imagine a PV plant with the modules, then you should be aware that the modules which are located on the edge are cooler than the modules inside the PV plant, because the wind is redistributing the heat. And you may know that the heat is not really good for PV. And once you have 1 degree Celsius up, it reduces the production by 0.43%. And if you have some modules in the same string, in the traditional inverter, which are hotter, producing less, with another modules which are cooler, of course, you are losing the power. So this is another mismatch. And module producers telling me that the losses can be 3 to 7% because of that. So this is not my statement. This is the statement of the module producers. Partial shading we talked about. Soiling. Soiling is actually another type of shading, because if you imagine snow, I don't know, dust, leaves, bird droppings on the module, whatever you can have on the module, this creates a shade. So this is something that's definitely very common in the real life. And this is creating also the differences between the modules. Manufacturing tolerance. This is something what is actually calculated by the software producers. So if you're using the programs to design the PV, and we talk about this 2%, they are basically calculating only with this manufacturing tolerance. They are not taking into account the other stuff. So what does it mean, manufacturing tolerance? This is exactly what I explained you before. If you get the modules on a pallet, there will be differences already from the very beginning. So you have 280 watt module, and then you have 284 modules. When you're buying some Chinese modules, then if you do the right measurement, you will find out that 280 watt modules does not have 280 watt modules, even though they claim there is a plus 5 watt tolerance, but you will measure, for instance, 270 or 267. This is very typical by the low cost Chinese modules. They give you some false statement on the label, but if you do the right measurement in the factory, you will find out that the power is lower than they claim on the data sheet. So be careful when buying modules. Take some really good and proved module manufacturers. And the last, I will talk later a bit, is the aging the modules, because they are aging, they are degrading, and they are degrading in different pace. And I will show you some examples why this is a very huge problem for many owners of commercial sites. Here is just the comment about the bifacial modules. If you are using bifacial modules, then with optimizers, you will get even, or with the real life, you will get the mismatch between the modules even much bigger. So bifacial modules are really good to be used with optimizers. We will not talk about it today. You can see the slides later on, but basically, if you have a different irradiation because of construction or shading of modules to each other, then you can be sure that every module gets a different voltage and current in the end. So that's why the optimizer can fix it and set it up. So for bifacial module, SolarEdge is absolutely perfect. But let's get back to this aging. Let's see what they did in Italy, in European Research Center in Ispra. If you look at the picture, you can see a test, and here the columns, the gray columns, are representing always a producer of modules. So they took 50 producers, 50 batches of modules from different producers, and they were testing for 20 years how the modules are losing the power, how they are degrading. Because on the module datasheet, you always see a statement that the modules will not lose more than 20% after 20 or 25 years, and similar statements. So they tested, and they found out really that the modules are really good, because none of the producers reached this 20%. So that's good news. The bad news was that in the same batch from the same producer, one module lost just 2% of the power, but another one from the same pellet lost 13% of the power. What does it mean if you have a traditional inverter? The weakest link, the weakest module, will affect the production of all the others connected in the string. That's why this is a big problem for traditional inverters and traditional sites. It's not about the shading. Shading is only one part of the problem. This part is very important, especially for commercial sites. If you look at the monitoring, what we see after a few years, in our monitoring, you can create a graph of energy of each module. And if you do it, then you see very often after a few years that the differences between the modules are, for instance, 10%. So the weakest module here, the black curve, is producing about 320 watt, but the best one, 10% more. So in average, if you would have a standard system, then you can imagine that this one will probably influence the power or the power output of the others. With SolarEdge, every module produces separately. If you don't believe us with this, I can show you, sorry, it's in the Czech language, but the university did a research of one solar park in Czech, which was built in 2010, and they have tested it after a few years operation in 2016, because the solar park didn't perform as it should, and this is a typical problem of all the solar parks here. They are losing the production in a non-expected way. So what they did, can you imagine you have thousands of modules in the field and you want to test it? If you have a string monitoring, you can only compare the string, you can do some measurement, and only if there is a big damage of the module and only on one string, then you can see a problem. If you see a problem, maybe you go on site, you do some infra camera picture or drone picture, you need to send the people there, they need to measure the voltage of the string, they need to measure the voltage of the module, maybe take some modules to the laboratory, do the testing, flash testing, checking the parameters. And one module testing is now more expensive than to buy a new module. So imagine you have 10,000 or 1,000 or 500 modules on the field, and you want to do a testing. You will spend a lot of time and a lot of money to do that, but they did it in the university. So they took a lot of modules to the laboratory, they did the testing, and they found out exactly what we see in the monitoring, that some of the modules were with the high degradation, some on with the middle degradation, and some almost without the degradation. And the recommendation for the owner, and for many owners of these solar parks, we did in Czech 1.5 of gigawatt of PV, 1.5 gigawatt, most of them in big solar parks. And the recommendation for the owners is, hey, go on site, do the measurement, take the bad modules and restring them together, and take the good modules and do new strings with the good modules, so that you eliminate the differences between them. I think you imagine for you, what does it mean in 5-10 years if you shall do this? That's why the monitoring is very, very important for you to have in your computer. In our solution, with 2 clicks, you do a mismatch report, and you will get all the data in a few seconds. You don't have to send anybody, you don't have to do any drone pictures, you don't have to buy any equipment, you have everything in your computer. And now calculate with me. This is a very, very simplified example. I'm an economist, but please, there is no discounting, no net present value. This is very, very, very simplified example. So I do apologize for this, but for many people, it's much better to understand when I'm doing like this. So imagine 1 megawatt plant. And let's take an assumption that 1 kilowatt installed produces 1,000 kilowatt hours. So if you have 1 megawatt, then 1% is 10,000 kilowatt hours per year. And now imagine you take just the very, very, very conservative number, 2%. We are producing more than traditional inverters. And then calculate it for 20 years at least, because I told you the PV plant is not for 5 years or 3 years. But if you take at least 20 years, then you see that only with this, you are losing 400,000 kilowatt hours. And if you take into consideration some kind of price for kilowatt hour, you can easily calculate the loss. Of course, you should calculate with net present value, not this way, but this is really simplified example. But we know it's not 2%. If you look at the latest from the research, even from PVSec, for instance, they did some testing and the mismatch is 6.7 in their results. And we see it that it's 7, 8, 9% only because of this degradation. So if you even take 5% as very conservative number, then you can see it's a really, really big loss for the owner if using not a smart system like PV optimizers, but using just the traditional inverter. So I hope I answered you the question if it really makes sense to put optimizers only on the shaded modules. I hope you understand that shading is just one of the problems, and the mismatch growing during time is really a huge problem. If you, as I said, if you don't trust us, you can check the international independent bodies who did the testing. First of them was, for instance, Photon. They did the testing in the laboratory, comparing the traditional blue and SolarEdge red, and they did it in the laboratory. Yeah, so they were only testing the shading in the laboratory or unshaded scenario. So not taking into account any degradation, any soiling, any clouds moving on the heaven, whatever on the sky. So even in the laboratory conditions, taking into account only some kind of shading, you can see the results here about the production. So it's proved by independent bodies. It's not us telling this. So this is only about the production. But if you look at the design, you will be probably limited very often on the roofs of the companies and buildings with some shading elements, antennas, windows, dormers, whatever you can find on the roof. And you cannot put modules in the shaded areas because even a small shade will significantly reduce the output power of the other modules. With SolarEdge, of course, you will be affected a bit, but still you will be producing. You can sell more modules to the investor. The investor will have bigger site and will produce more energy. In addition, you can do strings of uneven lengths. With SolarEdge, you can have one string with 17 modules, another strings with 25 modules, no problem at all. You can put modules in multiple orientations and different roof facets. Again, no problem at all. So this was about the revenue, about the yield. I have a special Excel with the calculation if you're interested how to do it in the complete return of investment calculation. I will send you this. You can check and we can discuss if you're really interested how to do it. Decrease expenses. That's another point you can offer to investor or even to you, because I told you the tradition, the SolarEdge system can do very long strings, so we can put even 40 modules in the string. Therefore, we need less DC cabling. We need less DC combiner boxes. We need less fuses. We don't actually need fuses at all. DC fuses are not needed in SolarEdge system. We need less data loggers because our monitoring is integrated in the inverter. So if you look at this picture, you will understand that you will save money on the balance of system components of the system. So if you are calculating the price of traditional inverter and SolarEdge system, please be aware the system influences the other parts in the system as well. So typically you will save 50% on the BOS costs in the system because of choosing smarter system with longer strings. That's why even the reason why some companies are trying to use this 1500 volt system. The aim is the only one, to have more modules in the string. But the problem with 1500 watt 500 volt system is that in some countries you need to have a special electrician to work with such system. Different components, more quality components. When you have such high voltage, there could be problems with PID later on, because you have, we will talk about PID later on, but PID is a problem which you can find on any side almost. So it's a typical problem, and with 1500 volt, it can be even a bigger problem. So with SolarEdge system, even now you can do very long strings. You don't have to use any 1500 volt systems. What is important? Monitoring 25 years is for free, so you don't have to pay anything. It gives you full control of the system. Anytime there is a problem, you get an email alert, you get an alert on the virtual map of the installation, and you can plan your service. So basically, you know before you go. With the standard systems, you go on site and you are looking for the mistakes. if you find some, probably you go back to the office or whatever, and you may bring some new part or change something. So with the standard system, you have no monitoring. If somebody tells you that string monitoring, and they call it smart, so it was smart 25 years ago, please don't be blamed. IV curve monitoring is not definitely a smart way. It's very stupid in my opinion, because this will tell you almost nothing. You always have to go on site. You always have to measure the voltage. You always have to fix it on site. With module level monitoring, you have everything in your computer, every single detail of your installation, every module. So it will cost you a lot of money. And I told you the example with the solar parks and with the module aging and degrading. Few examples. I told you that for instance, the broken bypass diode is a typical failure on the module. And when using the so-called smart software of the traditional inverters, turning off and turning on the bypass diodes, very likely the bypass diodes will die even faster. So when you have a problem in a SolarEdge system, and you can check even the detailed graphs of each and every module, and you can compare the voltage of standard good modules, and when there are some with lower voltage, 1/3, for instance, then you can think there is a problem with the bypass diode. So you have really detailed data about each and every module in the system. PID, I will not talk about it today, no time for that, but please believe me, this problem exists. Even though some producers claim that their modules are PID free, it's not true. They are changing. They are now saying PID resistant, because this problem exists and will exist. You can find some data about it on here on this presentation or on Google. But basically, if you want to fix this problem with the standard inverter, you need to send people on site. They need to measure the voltage. They need to compare the voltage, things like that. They need to climb the roof maybe. With SolarEdge, again, everything is in your computer. You can measure the voltage remotely. You can compare the graphs. You can easily find the affected modules. Basically said, if we talk about the monitoring, about the operation and maintenance cost, we can say with this, you can save from 15 to 25%. It's again, very conservative number. From my experiences, you can save much more money, because I worked in a laboratory for a while where we have tested the solar parks in Czech, and we did a lot of protocols, and I know what was the cost for that. So even in our calculations, we are calculating with a very, very conservative number, 10 to 15%, but in reality, you will see, you will save more money with that. So it was about the revenue, it was about the expenses, because it's a long-term investment, and you should also avoid some risks. And this is the last part of the advantages. And I will give you again a question, no, two questions actually. I'm not sure if I have it in a pause as well. No, this one not. So this is just rhetorical question. But if you think about the commercial PV plant, then investor and you should think about two things. Do you really want to put the cheapest power plant on your roof for 20 years or 30 years? And second things comes as a question, because this is a hot topic now. The question is, if you know that some commercial buildings in Belgium and Holland, they already didn't get an insurance from the insurance companies because they have a standard traditional PV on the roof without safety functions integrated. This is the trend which is coming now to the whole Europe. So it started in Netherlands, in Belgium, and now we are talking with many insurance companies like Marsh, FM Global, Allianz, and they are fully supporting optimizers and module level electronics, because they see that the problem with fires is increasing as the number of installations is increasing in the whole world. So your investor should know that maybe one day, if he puts a standard PV on the roof, the insurance will be much costly, or he will not get insurance at all. For firefighters, the PV on the roof is of course a problem. We don't have so much time to talk about this, but if you imagine you have modules on the roof, and then you have firefighters coming to do their job, what they usually do, sometimes they have to access the roof, so they need to have an access path. Then imagine sometimes they go inside the building and they need to turn off the AC, so they don't see anything. They are trying to do the holes to the roof. Again, there are modules on the roof with high voltage in the cabling, for instance. So they have problems with PV on the roof, and that's why in many cases they do not enter the roof. They do their job from a really long distance, and the damages are really big. There were several fires recently on Amazon, on Tesla. In Finland, there was a supermarket under fire. In Norway, the biggest site 2 years ago were under fire, and the damages were quite heavy. So it's really interesting topic, and insurance companies are really involved now in discussion for the new safety rules for PV in Europe. That's why we are approaching a holistic approach to PV safety. I dare to say we are the safest system in the world now, because we have several safety functions integrated. We can talk about them. I will introduce you two of them more in detail. But if you look at this slide, we have safe DC. We'll introduce. This is the reduction of the voltage for a safe level. The same function, but much quicker, which is required in US. It's called rapid shutdown. So again, it requires to decrease the voltage on a safe level within 30 seconds. Then it's also quite important part of the safety. It's arc fault detection and prevention. So we have integrated function proved on 1 million of inverters installed worldwide. So we have a proven function, and some competitors now coming that they have the same function based on I don't know, artificial intelligence and things like that, which is total nonsense, because they have no database, no experience with that. So again, use your own head when thinking about this kind of thing. What the people are telling you, please verify this kind of information. Think about what is the message. Marketing is a very strong tool, but you need to really understand what they are talking sometimes about. Built-in temperature monitoring. So we are improving the safety again in another way. We will put another temperature sensors in the optimizers, which will measure the voltage, the temperature in the connectors, for instance, of the optimizer and the modules. So even there is an electric arc, we will know there is a problem. The same is for AC or DC terminal. The new Synergy inverters, they will have temperature sensors on DC AC terminal. And when there is a higher temperature, you will get the warning. If it's too big temperature or too high temperature, we will shut down the system. And the last point, module level monitoring. Everything related to fire is related also to power. So when you have a module level monitoring, you always know the problem in advance. So it's also a big safety measure or function integrated into our solution. Safe DC, quickly, what is it? When you have a standard system, imagine a standard system where the voltage can be from 600 and up to 1,500 volts. So this is something what we have talked about. If you have a standard modules in a standard string connected into the series, the voltage can be like that. So let's take the lowest number, 600 volts. If you turn out the AC side, you turn off the inverter, or if anything else happened, you can only turn off the current in the cabling, but not the voltage. and the voltage can cause a lot of troubles. It's still very dangerous in some situations. For instance, last week I saw on LinkedIn a roof which was broken because of big load snow. And there were modules and cabling across each other. And can you imagine that the modules are still producing? They still have high voltage, you know. This can cause a lot of troubles. This can be, the cables can touch, the racking system. So it can be even dangerous to touch it. So PV is very safe, but in some scenarios, like a fire or structural damage of the building or whatever, can be dangerous. With a standard system, you cannot turn off the sun, you cannot turn off the voltage of the modules. If you have a SolarEdge system and you have optimizers connected, and we talked about the safety mode, it's fully automatic and integrated into the system. When there is any problem and the firefighters will disconnect the electricity from the house or from the street, so they turn off the AC breaker or the whole electricity input, or you turn off the inverter, or there is an insulation fault, for instance, when there is a flooding or some animal chew the cable, or there is a fire on the cabling, whatever, the inverter automatically stops the production and the optimizer is going to safety mode. So each optimizer produces just 1 volt. And if you imagine you have 40 optimizers in the string, you have 40 volts per string. Very safe voltage. And you are sure that the system has this voltage because you can see 40 volts sometimes, for instance, on the firefighter gateway. So fully automated certified system in the system. There are also thermal sensors in the optimizers. So once the temperature is above 85 degrees of Celsius, the system will again go to a safety mode. Here are some slides how it works, but you can check it later on. It's just showing the basic principle. I will not go into details. Here is just you can see the comparison when you have a standard system here with some old modules, 60 cells, 255 watts. You can see when you have 12 modules, what is the voltage and what is the voltage with the SolarEdge. So it's very, very safe and certified system integrated fully into the solution. Insurance companies, of course, like it. Firefighters like it as well. Arc fault detection and interaction. So the second integrated functions installed on 1 million of inverters all around the world. What is electric arc? Electric arc is high energy discharge, of course, going in a situation when the current goes through a normally non-conductive area such as air. And you may know that when there is a fire caused by PV, it's typically because of electric arc. Such electric arc can be typically seen when you have improperly connected cables or connectors, if there is a corrosion on this kind of connectors. If you are using cheap, not really testified connectors, be careful with connectors. Whatever technology you are using, please use always the same connectors and tested connectors. This can create a lot of troubles in the future, you will see. So be careful, this is good advice. I mean, for all of you. Failed DC isolators. This is also a very interesting thing. Sometimes you can see that people are using so-called DC fire switches or DC isolators. They put it on the wall, on the facade, or on the roof. What is the function of such a DC isolator? You connect the strings in such a box, which is called DC isolator, and you have a special cable to emergency button. And if you click on this emergency button, then at least in some part of the system, you don't have the high voltage. Typically inside the building. So you put the DC fire switch on the roof and disconnect, the voltage from the cabling in the building. The problem of this, if you look, for instance, at the results in Australia, you will see that such DC isolators or DC fire switches are causing the fires. Because if you do not maintain them or do not switch them regularly, then the contacts, because it's electromechanical switch typically, it can create an arc and create problems later on. So be careful when using this. If using this, it can be fine. It can help and secure the safety, but it must be maintained regularly. And you will always see in the small letters from the producers, please turn it off and on at least 10 times or check it every 3 months, whatever. Yeah. So in the small letters, you will see that. So be careful when talking about safety and using some kind of solutions like that. So arsing is a problem, which not big one, but once the installation is getting older and installation and the components are degrading, can happen that something bad can occur. And if you are offering a solution to a company to put it on the roof somewhere, then please inform the investor that he can be safe when using integrated functions like with the system with SolarEdge. So conventional systems, and I think there will be another poll soon. Sometimes the competitors claim, hey, you have a lot of components inside the system, so your system is more dangerous, and you know it can create a fire. I will show you later on if it's true or not. You can vote for that again. Conventional system can be equipped with some components like these DC fire switches, or they can even have arc fault detection with external solutions or integrated solutions. They can have rapid shutdown functions, but usually it's external solution, not combined with the monitoring, not informing you something is wrong. It costs more money. With SolarEdge, you have everything integrated into the system, certified, automatic, and actually, yes, certified to all standards we have. At the moment, for instance, there is no norm for electric arcs in Europe, so everybody's using this American norm. There is a new norm in Europe being prepared, IEC norm 63027. It's quite funny that there is a draft of this norm, so it's not finished, but some Chinese producers, big Chinese producers, are claiming they are already certified for this norm. So again, don't be blamed by some marketing things, and verify this information. I understand that in Russia and in China, yesterday means already today, or I don't know, they are really in advance, but how can be somebody certified for something which is only a draft? So be careful. Now the question, what I see in some presentations of traditional producers, they claim when you have more components in the system, it increases the risk of fire. The same they claim about power optimizers. So let's have a poll again, and I will let you vote. What do you think? So I give you last 5 seconds. And I end the polling just now. And I share the results. So true, 19%, false, 81%. Here, I would say it is true only in the first part of the question. More components means usually higher failure rate or higher risk of fire. That's true. But if you say A, you have to say also B. I think this picture gives you a clear answer. System with fewer components or system with more components with advanced safety feature like safe DC or electric arc detection and interruption. So what car you would drive if it be your choice? The system with fewer components or the modern system, smart system with integrated safety functions? It's up to you to decide, but I think the answer is quite clear. If you look at the insurance companies, I told you it's a big discussion, but if you look at the biggest player in this field, in the insurance companies creating rules for PV systems for commercial buildings, then you can check several of them. For instance, the FM Global, this is the biggest company active in 180 countries. You can check their documents about safety. And they are, if you look at this new document they issued several months ago, you will clearly see they are recommending multi or module level power electronics like optimizers for the solutions. I will not show you more of this, but I have another slide showing, you know, Marsh and Allianz and companies like that, mentioning even SolarEdge name in their official documents. So there are some integrated functions, but sometimes you can use even optional things like firefighter gateway. If somebody wants to see the voltage on the system, you can add to the system even this component, which can be connected to the fire alarm control panel. So if there is alarm, this gives the signal, you know, to this firefighter gateway, and it will shut down the plant as well. In addition, when somebody wants to see what's the voltage on the system, here is a display. You can always even connect the emergency button, for instance. As I said, it's an optional device. Our safe DC function or arc fault detection functions are fully integrated, and this product is not needed. Only when somebody wants to see the system behavior or wants to connect it to the fire alarm control panel can use even this device. Supermarkets are using this very often. They want to be really safe, so they're having this firefighter gateway very often. Of course, it's not only about the fire. We can talk about it for a long time about the safety measures, but it's also about the inverters itself. So our inverters are commercial in itself, are very robust, you know, for temperatures from -40 to 60 degrees. They are IP65 covered. Sometimes I hear the funny stories like somebody says, but we are IP66, so we can put the inverter for half an hour into the water. I said, yes, that's great that you can do it. Use it in the tender. So perfect. I think IP65 is absolutely fine, and I can imagine that you will not use inverter underwater. You can use our inverters, especially synergy inverters, also horizontally. And what is a good thing as well is that we have a certification to be ammonia resistant. I'm not sure anybody else has it. So especially for agriculture projects, for farmers, you can put the inverters in aggressive environment. I think no one else can do that. So this you can use even for agriculture projects. What is very, very important is the warranty. Once you will calculate the return of investment of the system, I told you we have a standard warranty of 12 years. And for the optimizers, you have 25 years warranty. So the big part of the system is already covered for 25 years. Standard warranty for inverter, 12 years. But you can very cheaply extend it to 20 years. You can find it on the web page. Pardon, the pricing is on the web page, so you can buy the warranty very cheaply. And if you compare to the traditional inverters, try to ask them what will be the cost of the warranty for 20 years. you will pay probably a new inverter or almost a new inverter. They know the inverter will die at least one time. Is my experience is I know it will be more often when you will change at least the board or the whole inverter. So when calculating this, please be very careful and very appropriate. You will have to either buy the extended warranty or put some money aside to exchange the inverter. And of course, the warranty, even well, the exchange even after warranty is cheap, because the inverter itself is very cheap because it's only doing the DC-AC conversion. So we are not changing the optimizers. These are increasing the price. This is very cheap component. So even the exchange after warranty is 40% less than with traditional inverters. The same is with the modules. Imagine today you have maybe 350, 370, maybe already 400, maybe already 500 watt module. But when I started, the module was 90 watts or 100 watts. And if you do a site now with a 350 watt module, I think in 7 years or 5 years, you will not find such module in the market. So how you will replace such module? It will be a bit problem. You cannot put 500 watt module in the same string with the 300 watt module. Or you can do it, but you will never get, the full power. If the size will be okay, of course. But with SolarEdge, as I said, every module works independently. So you have different optimizers for different modules. And 500 watt module can work in the same string with the module of 300 watt. So even for the future exchange of modules, it's very good solution. So think about it. We can maybe do more slides if you are interested, but we are almost over. So I will check the questions and try to answer some of them. But look at the last slide, showing you the comparison between traditional inverter and the SolarEdge system. As I said, I have a calculation in Excel calculating the costs for inverter for the project lifetime for 20 years, for instance. It's not about the initial price. The initial price, as you can see, will be always a bit higher for SolarEdge system than to a traditional inverter. And it can be even 50% more expensive. But anyway, in the end, even the low-cost Chinese inverters will be in the end more expensive than a SolarEdge system. Why? Because you have to calculate the BOS cost, cabling, DC cabling, data logger, monitoring, MC4 connectors, things like that. So we'll save some money here. Warranty and replacement costs. Try to calculate this. I can give you some examples. Check this. You will definitely pay less for the inverter exchange or the warranty. Operation and maintenance cost. As I mentioned to you, you will save 15 to 25% on yearly operation and maintenance cost. You will definitely produce more energy. And in some cases, depends on the subsidy program or on the country, even this 2% of high production created so much money that you can buy the inverter for that. So even the higher production, the difference between the production pays you for the inverter. In many cases, is much, 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 much more. So in the end, the lifetime value of such system is much better. And I'm not talking about the safety, of course, and additional things like flexible design and things like that, the exchange of the module. So it has the quickest return of investment. It has the longest warranty, and it is the safest system in the world at the moment, I would say, at least. You can compare, but I don't think somebody else has so many functions integrated in the system. Yeah, so this is for you to think. I will try now to check the questions. So why there is not kVA and not kilowatt? I think we can discuss offline. It's maybe not so important question, but let's go to I need to open it, the chat. Oh, there are not so many questions. It's a bit communication between okay, residential installations required, recorded webinar, fine. Okay, we will send you, we will share the presentation with you. Okay, so that's basically everything from my presentation, but I have another slides. So I know you must be tired and not concentrated, but I still have 30 minutes. So who is interested can stay a bit longer. I will explain you the commercial portfolio we have and some news. Who is not, you can of course leave. I would like to thank you for participation, but I will come back to that in 5 minutes. So we have 12:15 or 1:15. So 12:20 or 1:20, we will continue with some more slides. Who is interested can stay. Otherwise, I would like to thank you for participation. And as I mentioned, I will share all the materials with you, and I'm always at your disposal. So 5 minutes break, and then let us continue. And maybe if you have any questions, please put it in the chat or question and answers. Okay, so welcome back. I see many of the participants stayed, so I will try to make a quick overview what we have for commercial solutions and what are the news for commercial and even a bit residential products. So if we look at the commercial sector, so we can talk about optimizers and inverters, of course. Plus, we have really many software tools. I don't want to confuse you with all of them, but I think it's very interesting topic for some dedicated webinars. So, as I mentioned, commercial optimizers usually there is one optimizer for two modules. We have even a special optimizers for ground-mounted applications where you have one optimizer with 2 MPP trackers for 4 modules. So if somebody is interested, I can even send materials to that. There are many projects being prepared on this solution. If we look at the portfolio, you can see we have many types, and I think this is because of just that the module world is changing every 2 months. So the modules are getting more powerful and more bigger. That's why some older types like P650 or P600, which we used 1 or 2 years ago, are already away, and the P650 is also phased out. We will even change the optimizers and introduce some new models for the new high performance modules in the near future. I don't have it here, but we are working on that. Here is the optimizer for 4 modules. This is called M1600. But I think, as I said, if somebody is interested to know more about this, I can send more materials later on. I mentioned all of the optimizers or the modules are connected in series to the optimizers, except this one, P800P. That's why is here the P like a parallel, but it's only for special modules, for instance, from SunPower and similar. The designer, the program will always tell you which optimizer is suitable for which module. The designer has its own database with the modules, but if some module is missing and you have a data sheet, you can add it easily to the database of the program. What we have introduced a few weeks ago, we have updated our, let's say, low power commercial optimizers. We have phased out the optimizer with the power of 27.6K. At the moment, we offer 25K, 30K, 33K, and for some grids with 480 volt output, we offer even 40K inverter. But for you, 25, 30, and 33K are, let's say, the most important inverters. As I said, we have updated them, so they are much lighter. Instead of 45 kilograms, they have now 32 kilograms. They are a bit cheaper per cent per watt. They have integrated DC surge protection. They have an optional AC surge protection and RS485 protection. They are suitable for all grids, even for free wire grids or for IT grids, and they are future ready for SolarEdge commercial energy, commercial battery. So we will have even the commercial battery, and you will have an inverter, which you can easily DC coupled connect to the commercial battery. So everything will be from one vendor, under one firmware, under one warranty, and this battery should come by the end of the year. And these inverters are the first compatible with this battery. If you look, we have different flavors of this inverter. I think most of you will buy the base, so it's the standard inverter with MC4 connectors and DC protection integrated. But we have other versions which have, DC switch if mandatory in some countries. it's useless, but in some countries it's mandatory. We can even integrate the rapid shutdown function if needed. This is the US requirement, but some customers, even in Europe, they want to have really rapid shutdown of the voltage. So there are customers even for that. In France, they have a special requirements for AC/DC separation. So there are different flavors of this inverter, but and with the different PN numbers. But I believe this basic version might be most important for you. So these are the new 33K inverters, or 25 kV inverter. And at the moment, the most popular bigger inverters we have are the three-phase inverters with the Synergy technology. These will be updated very soon as well, but at the moment we have still these versions. So basically what you can find in the market is the version for 55 kilowatt, in some countries even for 50 kilowatt, and for 82.8 kilowatt. You can see that these inverters are, let's say, well, how to call it, flexible, or they consist of several parts. If we look at the 55 kilowatt inverter, you can see the primary unit and the secondary unit. Each unit has 27.6 kilowatt. So if you look at 82.8, it's actually 3 DC units of 27.6 kilowatt. What is the advantage of this inverter is that we are combining the big power, 82.8 kilowatt, but we have only one AC connection. So we are combining the string inverters together with the central inverter. If you look at the installation, it's very easy. Only one person can do that. If you check the inverters from other vendors, these are very heavy. You need to have a forklift. You need to have 2-3 persons to put it on the wall. So the handling is not easy. With this, you have 3 boxes. Only one person can install the box on the wall, put it on the bracket, just actually connect the cables to the primary unit, and then connect the AC part at one place. So it's very easy. It has very small, you know, it requires a small place on the wall. So very flexible, very popular inverter used in many applications. If there is a problem on one of the DC units, the other units are working separately. So you are not losing the whole power, but only, for instance, when there is a really problem, then only one unit is broken, and you easily can fix it and make the service. So as I said, it combines 2 worlds: the central inverter, big power, and string inverters working independently. We are going to change the concept of this inverter, and this will happen in the middle of the year. We will have some first shipments already in March and April, but this will be used in, let's say, bigger countries initially. But you can see that we are going up with the power. So we will have several versions. The biggest one will have 100 kilowatt for our 400 volt grid. For the grid of 480 volts, there is an version for 120 kilowatt. You can use it even in Lithuania or Baltics or whatever you want, but you need to use a transformer for this output voltage. You can see there is no primary unit anymore, but you have only Synergy units and the Synergy manager. So the ordering, stocking, and handling with the inverter will be much easier. Again, the units will be even lighter. Again, only 32 kilograms for one unit, but it will have the same dimension, so it will be very easy again to install. And it will have some interesting features. As I mentioned, there will be built-in temperature sensors on DC-AC terminal. There will be a 9-time PID rectifier. So if you have a problem with the PID during the day, in the night, it will recognize and revert the process. So it will heal the problem. There will be integrated DC SPDs, but you can even install the AC SPD, and it's field replaceable. It's connected to the monitoring. So when there is a problem with this, you'll get a notice. There was an alert, there was a problem, and you know, and you can go to fix it. Again, these inverters will be energy storage ready, so these are ready for the commercial battery as well. There will be some new features with these inverters. I'm not sure if I have it here. Maybe yes, I will try to show. But just for your better overview, what commercial inverters we have. So it's 16, 17 kilowatt, 25, 30, 33.3 kilowatt. We will have the new Synergy with the sizes of 50, 66.6, 90 kilowatt, and 100 kilowatt. So as I mentioned, this will come in the middle of the year with the bigger quantities. If you look at our software, we have many features. I don't have time to explain all of them, but there are dedicated webinars. Next one is with Jason, I think on Monday. So you will get some knowledge. But first of them is a designer. So designer is the program which is really amazing. If you're a guy who plays a lot, then please try it. You will be amazed. It's a program for free. You can design 2D, 3D models based on Google Maps. Or if you don't have a good resolution on Google Maps, you can upload your own picture from local provider, for instance, and you can have a real 3D model of the customer site. It takes you 5 minutes to do it, and you know and then after all you have a great report showing you everything, including the self-consumption. If you add the battery, it will recalculate the consumption based on your real consumption if you put the data into the program. So it's very nice tool. My experience is very good. I offered it to, for instance, the municipality of Brno last week, just for free. Just they test it, and they were absolutely amazed that something like that exists for free on the web. So even though you are not using our technology, use this, and you will see how useful tool you can have for free. Then we have a setup. Setup is a software for commissioning the inverters. You can see our inverters are without a display. So basically, setup is an application you connect wirelessly to our inverter, and this will guide you through the process of commissioning. And we have some nice features coming for this application in this year. Then we have a mapper application. Mapper application is a special tool for mapping the optimizers on the site. I will not talk about it today, but there are many improvements again. Monitoring platform, again, I will show you maybe some improvements what we have done. And My SolarEdge, this is a mobile application for especially for system owners. It will have a completely new design and look in 2021. If we look about the designer, as I mentioned, we will soon present the financial analysis. So if you do a project, 3D project in this program and show it to the customer, there will be also an option to show him the financial analysis. You don't have to pay for any other program in the market. Very easily, you can create a report and send it to the customer, and he will see everything. Central commissioning, we are improving the setup application. So before, when you have a site with many inverters, you always had to do the commissioning and the setup for each inverter separately. Now you only configure the master, and this will set up all the other followers connected automatically. So this will save some time for you. We also will allow you to check the DC side before the AC side is connected. So sometimes you can only check the PV plant once you have the AC connection. But sometimes the AC connection is done by a third party or by other group of people, and you go inside, you do the DC part, and you have no chance to check if the wiring is okay and everything works. So we will allow you to do it with the power bank and solar energy. So once you have a power bank, you can connect to the inverter. You can do the wiring check. You can do the pairing and check the DC side before even the AC side is connected. Mapper, as I said, there are some improvements, how to map the optimizers on the site to have the proper layout and position of the optimizers in the monitoring. The application was improved. You don't have to save your progress. It saves automatically and it synchronizes with the server automatically. So some improvements there. We also changed the way how to do the physical layout, the virtual map of the installation in the monitoring platform. If you do the program in the designer, you don't have to use it because the designer will do it for you and export to the monitoring and you are without issues. But if you are not using the designer, then we have a special tool in the monitoring where you can draw your plant and assign the optimizers to the specific modules. So there are very nice improvements done again. There will be some improvements even in the remote things you can do from the monitoring. At the moment, you can change the grid settings if you ask for permissions. You can sometimes in some countries, there are problems with the over voltage or under voltage. So we can allow you take your own risk as an installer and change it remotely. There will be also an option to do a firmware upgrade remotely, but you need to complete the Edge Academy training for that. We have also a new system alerts in the system. I don't know if you have any installations and you already got the message that you can change to the new system alerts. Just please be aware we have changed it completely. There are many more possibilities what to do. You can create different profiles, for instance, for sites. You can have a profile for residential sites. You can have a profile for commercial sites. You can choose what kind of alerts are important for you, which are not, which are less important, which are more important. You can play with it all day, but it's very mighty tool in terms of service and maintenance. Quickly to residential. Soon we will launch a new small three-phase inverter with the flexible design. So this will be in the range of 3, 4, 5 kilowatt. If you checked the slides before about the design rules, you noticed that for the three-phase inverters like this, you needed at least 16, sometimes 30 optimizers for a minimum. With these inverters, you will need only 8 or 9 optimizers as a minimum. So it's a flexible inverter with the DC-DC converter here, and it will be first inverter again battery ready. So the batteries we will produce in Hungary will be easily to be connected with this inverter. Safety, again, as I mentioned to you, we will add some thermal sensors in the optimizers. So we will change the cabling a little bit of the optimizers, and we will have 3 short cables and 1 longer. And we will have temperature sensors measuring the temperature in the connectors, and therefore we can even reveal or have the information that there could be an electric arc before it even happens. Yeah, so we have arc fault detection and interruption, but this is already for arcs which are there, and you know, it's better always to have some prevention before an electric arc you know, arise. So another safety feature we are introducing this year. Then we will probably very soon remove the RS-485 communication, and we will connect our devices wireless based on 5G on a mesh. So we will remove the Zigbee and RS-485, and there will be new way of communication between our components like meter, inverters, and smart energy home devices. We'll also introduce the new meter, smart meter. Maybe you know that our current meter, you have a meter and then you need to have a current transformers. In addition, this will be valid for the bigger sites, because this meter, what we have now, is even for 1 megawatt site, and you can control the power to the grid, or you can set up a 0 power to the grid. So 1 meter for all installations, but sometimes you have no place for current transformers. So we will have a new meter with current transformers integrated into the meter, I think up to 65 amps. So for residential or small commercial PV plants. New look of my SolarEdge. For those of you know the monitoring what we have now, then you can see the my SolarEdge design will be changed. There will be a new line for smart home energy devices. Of course, there will be a new line for charging the car with the EV charging inverters. With the battery, there will be new graphs, new slides. You know, will be much nicer very soon. We will introduce also some new smart energy devices. AC release, the dry contact switches, smart sockets. I will go through this very quickly. Auxiliary devices, environment sensors, hot water, that what we have already, but we will improve this product again. So if somebody is interested in a smart automation in the house, we have, I think, a lot of to offer. Battery, I cannot provide you with many information, with much information right now, but here is the basics. As I mentioned, we will produce or assemble our battery in Hungary. It will have a special safety mechanism. It's NMC cell inside, and as I said, it will be compatible with some of the inverters we will introduce this year, and later on with the other inverters. The big advantage is that the battery will be under one firmware, under one producer. It will be very efficient. It's a DC coupled solution. It will be the most efficient system in the market. Yeah. At least what I know now. Yeah, let's see what the competitors will introduce. So this was just quick introduction of some news for this year, and maybe last few slides which are important, you know, for you as a newcomers, how to contact us when you have some kind of trouble. So only 3 slides how to do it. We have 3 options. First option, you go to our web page and you click on the support button here. But before you do that, when you have a problem, you should know about the problem. So you should prepare some information you will need for us. So description of the problem. You should have either name of the site, how is it in the monitoring, or the serial number of the defective component, defective optimizer, defective inverter. And if I can ask you, do pictures or whatever, or movies, whatever you can do to describe the problem, it's much easier for us to understand what is the problem. So document the problem as much as possible. The first option is how to contact us, and the best way is really to go on our webpage, click on the support, and then you will get to this web page where you see these 2 options. You can log in either as a system owner when you are owner of the site, or you can log in as an installer. You will probably log as an installer, so you log in as an installer, and then you will get another web where you can open a new case. Once you click on the button, it will guide you through the process. It will require some information from you, the description of the problem, name, site, or serial number, or whatever, and you can even see all your cases here, and you will communicate with our tech support through this environment. It's the best way how to contact us. And for your information, at the moment, for this region are working 3 guys. It's Kirill, he can speak English and Russian language. Mihail and I think Peter, all of them speak, of course, English. And of course, they have some kind of help from tier 2 guys in UK and whatever. But if you think you can or you better to communicate via email or via phone, you can use this option as well. So either you can send an email, it will also create a case, the service case, but please be aware you have all the information needed inside. Here you can not, for instance, describe the problem or put the serial number or whatever, and then you will exchange a lot of emails. So email is not really the best thing to do. Better to go to this, open a new case, and this will guide you through the process, and guys will communicate with you. If you want to call, then please be aware our tech support center is in Bulgaria, but we have for some countries the local numbers. So you can see it here on the list. If you call and please use it, call the guys. As I said, they speak English or they speak Russian. Unfortunately, not Lithuanian, Estonian, Ukrainian, or the other countries yet. Maybe there are some guys in other departments, but I'm not aware of this. But English you can speak all the time. If there is not the local number for the specific country, then you can use the Bulgarian official line for that. So you can always reach somebody there. Sometimes you have to be patient, maybe 3 or 5 minutes, but please use this and call them. They will try to help you. If they are not able to help you on site or at the moment, sometimes they have to ask somebody more experienced or with some better knowledge. So it takes some time, but in many cases, they can help you. In addition, in many cases, we can fix the problem remotely. So if you set up a case, please, and something is not working, for instance, the optimizer is not communicating or whatever, do not change it. Please wait for the approval from the tech support, because once you do the advanced training, you can ask for a service fee. You can ask for the optimizer exchange, and you can charge us 125 euro for the exchange. For exchange of the inverter, you can I think it's 150 euro. But if you do it without approval of the tech support, you cannot charge us for money, because sometimes we only need to do the pairing again. We need to set up some parameters. We need to put the new firmware, and the problem is fixed. So please don't do it by your own. Last slides are about storage. This is just about the commercial battery. If you are interested, we have other options even for bigger systems, but this is not the topic for today. But even in Lithuania, we are preparing probably a project with bigger size of commercial batteries. But this one is the basic commercial. It's a 40 kilowatt-hour battery. You can put 3 batteries to the inverter, so it can be 120 kilowatt-hours altogether. This is how it looks like. So it's a rackable solution. It's up to 40 kilowatt-hours with several modules, battery modules inside. It has a 40 kilowatt DC-DC converter. So even though you can have 3 batteries, the maximum power is 40 kilowatt because of the converter. You have different, let's say, modifications with more batteries per one inverter, or with more inverters with one battery. And the first compatible inverters are the 33K inverters and the new Synergy. So I think that's, I will not show you the applications, or maybe I can, but I think this is something you can see later on in a commercial catalog or whatever you want. That's actually end of my presentation. If you would have any questions, as I mentioned, you can send me an email or you can put the questions now. I see in Q&A a question from Martins. Is there a system for installers which allow me to monitor all my installed power plants? Example 10 solar power plants to see and monitor everything in one place. Of course, that's the base. That's something what we have big advantage. You can have a flotile of your own systems. I will try to show you, I'm a small installer of 2 systems. So I will show you how it looks like. I will start to share the screen. If you give me a second. So can you see a new screen now, please? I hope yes. But if not, let me know. So here you can see if you are an installer, if you connect to the monitoring, then you have all your sites here on the list, and you can do several things. You can do reports for all of them. You can compare them if you want, for instance. So you can click on the reports and you can create thousands of reports about AC production. You can compare whatever you want. You can have alerts for all of them. You can contact support here as well, of course. Then you have an option to create sub accounts, but this is not today a time to talk about it. But this is how you can see them. You can even click on a map and you will see them on a map. I have a little bit slower internet connection here, so this will take some time probably. It's very slow, very, very slow. But there should be, we have a big installers, for instance, in US. In US, we have, I think, 65% of market share. And the big installers, they have thousands of installations, and they have thousands of installations like that, and they can control them very efficiently with this. So you can see them on the map and check everything you want. If you click on it, you can see now this installation is under snow, so it's not producing. I'm sitting now in the house of this installation, so I'm just going to show you how the monitoring looks like. That you can create even very crazy installations with SolarEdge. But I'm really sorry for the internet connection. If you are interested, you should really visit the webinars which are dedicated to this. So, for instance, this is the basic dashboard of the site, and you can see on the picture that this installation is very crazy with a lot of shadowing, with a lot of site orientations covered. So this is something that you can do with SolarEdge, but you will definitely not do with the standard string inverter. Otherwise, it will lose a lot of power. We have an example now in Hungary, system made on traditional inverter with very, very bad results, and we will replace it probably with our solution and show the advantages of smart solutions. Because I have installed even the smart meter, I can see what I'm producing, of course, and what I'm buying from the grid. So now the weather is not really good, so I'm producing only 300 watts. And I'm buying 2 kilowatts, so probably something down is working, not sure what. But you can have this analysis for day, week, month, year, billing cycle as well. So if I look at the day at the graph, then you can see the red, it's a consumption. The blue is what you are self-consuming from the PV production. So you can have really precise data about everything. You can compare within years, quarter, month. As I said, there are many options even here, how to export it, how to play with it, how to do the details. I have also an equipment to heat the water because I don't have a battery yet. I'm waiting for the SolarEdge battery. So I'm using the excess energy not to put it on the not to get it not to put it in the grid, but I'm using the heater, and then I have the excess PV energy, which I don't have now because you saw that I'm producing less than I'm consuming. Then I put the excess energy into the boiler, and I'm heating the water with the electricity, not putting into the grid. It's very cheap battery actually, and very efficient. I can have a layout. Again, sorry for it's not the exact layout, but you can check everything you want. You can compare. If I take these modules and I see they are not performing well, I can take a info about them, check everything, you know, compare them. I can do graphs, so it will put me to the analysis, and it will compare, you know, the energy, for instance, or voltage, or whatever you want. So you can play with the monitoring really into details, compare the modules and find the problems. You can do reports. So for instance, here, I can do a report of module mismatch. So as I said, you do 2 clicks and you generate a report about all the modules and inverters on the site. It will take the data of the production for the last at least 30 days and compare among each other, and it gives you a result. And if you see some issues, then you can check and go and do the analysis. But you don't have to go anywhere. You are sitting in the office. So you're saving a lot of time, money, people, whatever you want. Maybe you can see that my internet connection is really unstable. There is a new alert system. I will not show today. Here is the admin button. You can do really a lot of things from admin button. So I fully recommend you to go to dedicated training to monitoring, because you will see we can do really a lot of things. Kiosk function, we can make the installation public. We can do remote things. You know, we can calculate the revenue. We can give access to the monitoring with different rights. We can do a physical layout. We can check as I said, it's for another 2 hours of talking, and we don't have so much time because I have another. So I will check another questions if there are any. I don't see any more, but maybe we can unmute and you can talk. I don't know how to unmute all of you, but
maybe those that want to speak can raise the hand. Raise your hand, and then we can unmute you.
It's also possible if the participants know how to do it. But even if you unmute, we are not so many. We are maybe 34, so I don't think those would be a problem. If there are any questions, if not, I would like to thank you, of course, for the participation. As I said, we will share all the materials with you, even more materials. You saw my email. You can always contact SolarEdge. They are already well experienced with SolarEdge. We are working together in many countries. So we are full professional. Okay, so if there are no questions, nobody raising the hands, then I would like to thank you for joining this webinar. I would like to thank you to the organizers, to SolarEdge, and I hope we will hear us soon again. On Monday, there is another nice webinar with Jason, so please join.
Thank you, Peter. And as you say, there is a webinar on Monday also, so sign up for it. There's more information to come. So thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, I think that's it. So thank you very much, guys. And now I will end the webinar and we'll see each other again on Monday. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.